What is up, YouTube? It is Docky, and I am back at it again with another Forspoken video for you all today. And in this one, we're going to be going over my demo impressions. Now, Forspoken has already been one of my most anticipated games since it was first revealed 2 years ago as Project Athia. So, from day one, I've already been hooked by the art style, the combat, the traversal, the story, and all. But the negative responses I have been seeing about this game don't actually seem to be about the gameplay itself. It's always some copy and paste response to the game, but we'll get into that later in this video. So, like I always say, without wasting any more of y'all's time, let's hop straight into this video and straight into my demo impressions. So, when it comes to the Forspoken Demo, I've played probably over 10 hours of it so far. I streamed 3 hours of it on the channel, I played 4 hours of it the first day, and have come back to it periodically to level up, unlock new spells, collect chests, and so much more. And with all that time, I do gotta say, it's pretty good. Like, damn good. Now, is it great or perfect? Nah, most games aren't. But everything that's good in the game is really good. But the things that I have had issues with are so minor or easily manageable, fixable, or can potentially be patched out by launch, it's not really that big of an issue to me. But I'll get into more of that in detail at the end of the video. First, let's start with my first impressions, then I'll hop into the good, the bad, and the future of the game. So for starters, the game just instantly throws you into the tutorial to get a feel of the combat and traversal, and to be honest, it instantly felt off. Like, not good at all, not gonna lie. And the tutorial really feels like it gives you the bare minimum. Maybe it's because it just throws you into the middle of the game with the multiple spells and abilities, and they want you to learn, but it feels like the tutorial was lacking a bit in teaching players how to properly utilize all of their spells and traversals, even down to small quality of life improvements that are in the actual game that the game itself doesn't tell you about, like being able to seamlessly switch between your magic just by using the D-pad or your touchpad rather than using your triggers. Or the fact that in your settings, you have the ability to auto-evade, aka dodge any attack in the game, minus the red ones, which can help you with your combat meter, let you pull off some killer combos, and so much more. And one of the most useful tools of combat is also found in the settings, and that's the automatic support spell switching, which is a game changer in my opinion when it comes to combat. It cycles through fully charged support abilities, so once you use one, it'll switch to the next one without you having to manually doing it and messing up your flow of combat. And nowhere in the demo that I saw at least was this mentioned. But once I put that settings on, it made all of the difference in my combat, and the more I kept playing, the less frustrating the combat actually became. Now, part of this is due to getting familiar with the game's button layout, which I understand, which feels frustrating at first, but the more you play, the more you get used to it. Though something of note that I do find a bit strange is that, at least as of right now in the demo, the square button has no use. It's just a dead button. It feels like it could have been utilized more efficiently, but I will get into that a little more later when I talk about the bad of this demo. Now, outside of the controls, the first impression of the game was at least pretty good. It was surprisingly polished for a demo, especially one in this day and age where demos and betas come out like a week before a game does, and it's a buggy mess. And I have yet to encounter any with this demo. Yet, no one's going to mention that, but they'll mention some bad promo material. Anyways, outside of the polish, the game played pretty well and looked great. On PS5, sure, not as great as originally shown with the Project Athia gameplay and some of the other trailers, though on PC that could be a different story. The game does still look great though, so don't get me wrong, there's no pop-ins in the open world that I've encountered. The main character design could look a little bit nicer, as it does look a bit out of place as compared to the rest of the open world, but other than that, nothing too crazily bad. But those are just some of my first impressions. Let's talk about what I actually liked about this demo and why it sold me on my purchase. So first, as amazing as the open world is for the small bit that we got to see in the demo, there's always something to do or kill, which is rare for some open world games, especially when it feels like you're just walking and walking before you can find or do something in the open world. And for Forspoken, it felt like you couldn't go a minute without running into something to fight, finding a chest, a new side quest, activities, mini bosses, or anything. There was always something to do, even when you aren't focusing on the game's story. And that's part of what sold me. The fact that I had so much fun just exploring and doing things in the demo, and it didn't have to shove the story down my throat. The fact that I'll always have something to do and I can play it my way and not get bored without having to focus on the main story is what ultimately sold me on Forspoken. Now, another thing that was done really well in the game, though trust me, it takes some practice, but it's worth it, is the traversal system. Another mechanic that initially frustrated me like crazy, but the more I understood it, the better I became at it. And then like seeing pro level traversal through clips on Twitter, I was like, wow, I'm still trash at traversing in this game compared to these players, but that's what I've been appreciating about this game so much. Everybody wants a game that's easy to pick up with basic fundamentals, and sure, this game has that, but it's also one of the few games that rewards its players for truly understanding its fundamentals, and when you do understand the game's mechanics, it really does bring your gameplay to the next level. Which ties perfectly into my next point, which is the combat. Like the traversal system, you really gotta understand and utilize your combat mechanics to get the most out of the game. And though you can play it perfectly fine with little understanding, it won't be as fun or flashy as it would be if you had practice or got better. But, back to combat, though the demo only gives you access to 2 of the 4 unlockable magic types, with a few restrictions to their skill trees, each spell and support spell does feel unique and fun to play, with a variety of ways to mix up combat for flashy attacks. Whether it's creating a fire dome to run up and then throw a bomb on the ground so it can detonate, then quickly swap to your purple magic so you can slash all your enemies with the vine tendril before you even touch the ground. It's really fun to see some of the different combinations that you can pull off with your combat in this game. Like, I personally can't wait to get access to all of the magic types in the game so I can mix up the magic spells for some killer attacks. But those are just some of the things that I just absolutely enjoyed about the demo. Let's talk about the issues now. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, though I do feel like some of these are manageable and can be fixed via patch or even hotfix, it is currently in the demo and it is an issue or hindrance nonetheless. So let's talk about the problems I had with this demo so far. So first, let's just talk about the UI. It's very stylish over function, which I get when games do this, but it's not that beneficial. Like when you go to collect the archive in the game, why is the text at the very bottom of the screen when you have an entire left side of your screen to use? And the worst part about some of these archives is that you have to scroll for the freaking text, but you have a whole left side of your screen to use. Just expand the text, move the text. It's just certain things like this, like I said, they bug me. They're a hindrance and an annoyance. It's not that big a deal. They can fix it, sure, but it's just like, why? Another thing that bugs me with UI or even the HUD in general is that the drop icons blend in with the environment, making it hard to see loot that you need to pick up, making it very easy for you to miss without having to constantly scan to make sure you got everything. A simple fix to this would just be change the color of the item drops or make sure it stands out more, like way more, or just make it bigger, the icon at least. Again, they're going for more style over function, which I get, so it doesn't clutter up the screen, but it could be done so much better and less annoyingly. Now, another issue that I had with the demo comes through the form of the combat system. And though I love it and just about everything about it, switching between your R2 ability does seem very slow and does mess up the flow of combat. And though it's not the biggest deal once you get into that flow, the game literally has a square button with no function. Use that to swap between your R2 spells, just like you can use the left or right D-pad to switch between your magic types for a more fluid combat playstyle. Such a simple fix, if they can do it, but it'll make all the difference. Moving on to this next thing, this might just be personal preference, but I don't like the puzzle chest. And it's not that they're even bad or horrible, they're just bleh. Like, just like the same ones in Spider-Man PS4, which is probably one of my favorite Spider-Man games. No one liked those stupid puzzles. The game knew you didn't like the puzzles and they let you just skip them after a while. And the fact that this game doesn't even let you individually move the square is what really bothers me the most about these puzzles. Let me move the individual square and not multiple squares based on the empty spaces. I hate that. If you're going to give me a puzzle like this, do it right at least and make it less annoying when we already don't want to do puzzles. But now, moving on to my last issue with this demo, I will say this I do feel like is a must. Yeah, it's a hurdle that you could get over, but the feature should still be implemented. And that's letting players remap their buttons. This game's biggest turnoff is its controller layout, and I've seen many people who have played the demo get frustrated with the button layout. Even myself, I was pissed for about an hour before I ultimately got the hang of it. But coming from other video games, my fingers naturally just want to press other buttons for attacking or dodging. And a way to remap your buttons would help alleviate this stress, especially in combat-focused games, and for newer players who might get frustrated with the standard button layout. let players remap their buttons, please. But there it is pretty much. Those are my pros and cons of the demo. Everything I enjoyed, disliked, and things that should be fixed or addressed. But there still is one more thing to get into with this game for those who are at least contemplating picking it up. Now first, I will say I will never try to tell people what they should or shouldn't get. I just try to lay out all the facts and my personal pros and cons of the game. If you don't like the game, that's perfectly fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But if you're interested in the game and enjoy the demo, from what we've seen so far, this is just scratching the surface. The demo didn't even cover the story. We only got a small taste of the map, customization, spell enchantments, 2 of the 4 magic types, and the game still has post-launch content planned with DLCs. And on top of that, we haven't even seen the game's true endgame yet. So this game is looking to have a lot of potential, and like most games that have some potential, there's always going to be people coming at it with negativity, which generally is understandable if it's validated, but in this case, most of it just seems towards the wrong issue, and most of it isn't even towards the gameplay or content. So if you are interested in the game, at least do your due diligence when it comes to watching streams, videos, or reviews, and getting a proper perspective on the game. If a video starts with, oh, the marketing campaign was so bad, you already know what you're going to get into, sheep mentality. But other than that, that's all I really have to say on this demo, my playthrough, and my impressions. If you've played it, let me know what your thoughts are below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Were there issues that you had with it? Are there things you wanted to fix? What are the things you enjoyed? I'm just curious to see everybody's opinion on it, because this game does seem divisive, but I'm curious if it's divisive for the right reasons. But let me know down below. Other than that, I'm going to wrap up this video, guys. Thank you all for watching. Like always, be sure to leave a like if you liked the video, because nobody's going to see that dislike. And if you haven't, be sure to join the Discord. Link to that is in the video description as well. Other than that, though, guys, I will catch you all in the next one. Like always, thanks for the love. Thanks for the subs. I'm out of here. Peace.